Hi, my name is Colin Mahler and welcome to the Full Persian class. This chain is also known as the foxtail chain. In class today, you're going to learn how to make a bracelet that you can also adapt to make a lovely necklace. I'm using both shiny and oxidized rings today so that hopefully it will be easier for you to see the pattern of the weave. So the tools that you're going to need to make your full Persian chain are one pair of bent chain nose pliers and one pair of regular chain nose pliers. So the materials that we're going to be using today are 4.25 millimeter jump rings in 20 gauge. I'm going to be using some oxidized and some shiny jump rings today, so hopefully it will help you to be able to see more clearly what it is that I am trying to show you. And you will also need one paper clip. So for the sake of this demonstration, we have bumped up the ring size to the next size up, which is an 18 gauge, 5.5 millimeter, and I'm hoping that this will make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. So you're going to start out with an open jump ring, and you're going to go ahead and link your 4 closed jump rings onto the open one. Go ahead and close it up. And then you're going to go ahead and grab another open jump ring and go through all 4 of those closed rings again. And close it. Now drop those 2 jump rings together and separate out 2 of those 4 closed rings like so. And you end up with a little piece of 2 and 2 chain that's 3 links long. And now you're going to want to take your paper clip and go through the end of this piece of chain like so. Now I want to grab the paper clip and pinch just under that first pair of rings so that they kind of stand up in my fingers. And I'm going to take the last pair of rings, the 3rd pair of rings on the end of this chain, and I'm going to kind of push all 3 sets of rings together like so. And I want this last set, this 3rd set of rings, to sit to the outside of that first pair. And I want to hold all this together, so I'm going to shove it down between my fingers, like so. And I'm going to turn my hand. So now, it's a little hard to see. Oh, there we go. Now I'm going to go in between the middle pair of jump rings. And there's a space between the middle pair of jump rings and the first pair of jump rings. And that's where I want to go. Let's see if we can get a better view here. And I highly recommend using your wire to stick through there and leave it in there. It'll hold the space open for you. And you can leave it in there until you get your jump ring through. Like so. So now you want an open jump ring. And follow the path of the wire. With your jump ring, like so. I'm gonna let my wire go now. Once you have your jump ring in there, you can get rid of that wire. Go ahead and close this up. Like so. Now I'm going to add a 2nd jump ring in the same space. You want to make sure that your jump rings do not cross like I just crossed mine. They want to lay side by side. I'm going to take this out and put it back in. All right. Okay. Once you get it through there, you're going to go ahead and close it up. Like so. Now the shiny rings on this chain are going to be the innie rings because they sit inside the chain, or the hard rings, the tricky rings, whatever you want to call them. We'll call them innies. So the next set of rings that we're going to do are going to be outies, or easy rings. So I'm going to turn the chain a quarter of a turn. So this step here, when I'm looking at my chain, I'm also looking at the edge of my paper clip. So when I turn the chain, I want to be looking through the loop of my paper clip. So now I want an open jump ring. And I'm going to go through this shiny set on the end, and I'm going to close it. See? Much easier. And I'm going to take a second ring, and I'm going to go through that pair on the end, close it up, and now I want to arrange them so they sit to the outside of this other pair of oxidized rings. Oops. And they don't always want to stay where you put them, so you're going to have to make sure you've got them in place. And I like to kind of tilt them up so they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, or tilt them together. All right, so now I'm all ready to add my next set of innies. So I have my previous set of rings all arranged. Now I'm going to spread these two shiny rings open. And I'm going to be going through this space right here. So I'm going between these two spread rings, and I'm going through the top of what is the third pair of rings in the chain. Okay, so you're going to take your open jump ring, go through that space, and when you go to close it, make sure you're closing these up around the top of that previous set of rings. Okay, like so. And go ahead and add your second ring. Remember, there's always 2 rings per step. And go ahead and close it up. Like so. Then we're going to turn our chain a quarter of a turn again, so that you're looking through the loop of your paper clip. And you're going to grab an open ring. So now we're on the outies again, or the easy rings. So go ahead, just go through that last pair of rings on the end of your chain, close that ring, and then add your second ring. And arrange them so they sit to the outside of the previous set of innies, like so. Turn it again. Spread these two open, Find your space. Like so. And put your ring in there. And close it. Add your second ring. So these are your 2 steps that you're doing. You're doing innies and outies. Like so. And then you turn it and it's just a wash, rinse, repeat. These are the outies. They again will go on this last pair of rings on the end of the chain. Take them and arrange them to the outside of the previous pair. Flip it. So you're just going back and forth with these 2 steps until you get your chain to the length you want it to be. I recommend that we have started with what is an innie pair of rings or an easy pair of rings. You want to end it also on an innie pair of rings. And don't forget to add the length of your clasp into the final length of your bracelet or your necklace or whatever it is that you decide you're going to make out of your full Persian. All right, so you are going to continue with your 2 different steps, making your chain longer until it is the length you want it to be. Again, don't forget to add the length of the clasp into your final piece. And this is the bracelet made out of 4.25 millimeter 20 gauge jump rings. And this is the piece that I was working on in the 5.5 millimeter 18 gauge jump rings. And you can see there's a pretty big difference in size here. And on this one, as you can see, I wire wrapped a bead and added it to the end of the chain to give myself a little more length. And I just added my clasp to the end of the chain here. This is ending on a set of innie rings. You can see that. And then I attached the clasp with another pair of smaller jump rings there, and then I wire wrapped the other half of the clasp to the bead. Now in the 4.25 millimeter jump rings in the 20 gauge, there's about 28 rings per inch of chain. And in the 5.5 millimeter 18 gauge, there are about 20 rings per inch of chain. So that will help you figure out how many rings you need to make your bracelet or your necklace the length that you want. Thank you for joining me today for the full Persian chain class. I hope you enjoy your bracelet or your necklace. If you've made a necklace, keep in mind that this is a great chain to wear a large bailed pendant on. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope you enjoy your jewelry. Bye.